Also, this week, Jeff Keighley got back on the stream and said, hey, get ready for this revolution. And then Epic just kind of tweeted it out before the stream started as well and ruined it. But it was the grand reveal for Unreal Engine 5 and next-gen graphics, technically running on a PlayStation 5. They emphasized over and over and over again. Let's see, Jeff, did you watch that thing?
I did.
What'd you think?
It had popped up randomly in my YouTube feed, and I don't. How early did they announce that this was coming, or was this just a complete surprise to everyone?
I think Keighley was saying we're going to have a reveal or a stream on Wednesday.
Yeah, and he said that it was one of the most important things of the summer, which I really shrugged my shoulders at a couple days ago. I was like, all right, we'll see. But then it was like, all right, well, this is PS5 gameplay in Unreal Engine 5. Like, this is the future of games. I mean, it honestly is, because a lot of people are going to use Unreal Engine 5 moving forward.
Yeah, and my big impression, they had a couple guys talking about it, what their design hopes were for it and everything. I was like, okay, when are they going to start? I actually skipped forward to the gameplay, and then when I started seeing what was going on, I went back and watched the entire thing, because it does sound like a legitimately some huge differences in how the engine is handling graphics and polygons and whatnot.
Triangles, we call them
and
triangles.
lighting.
They emphasize triangles so much.
Now.
Yeah, and they're like, we have triangles as small as a pixel. And it's like, okay, I'm not smart enough to fully understand the power of that, but they seem very excited about it. And they had, fun code names for all these things. Like, okay, we had Nanite for limitless geometry, Lumen for lighting, Niagara effects are so the bats are aware of each other and other things are aware of what else is happening within the AI. Who knows? I think those are all going to kind of go by the wayside and people forget those exact names. But, we've had so many Unreal demos before. Like, okay, the Unreal 4 demo was like the weird lava guy. I think it's called Elemental. And then even like the Samaritan demo, which is kind of like Unreal 3.5 that we went back and watched not too long ago. But what kept getting me excited about watching this was just like that reminder that, okay, this isn't just a high-end PC. This is actually running on a PlayStation 5. So even if you think the Unreal demos of the past have been far-reaching or a little bit much, like that framing for everything, I think was really important to the impact of this overall.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing is that they were talking about how essentially, and who knows when it starts getting into other developers' hands and everything, but they're talking about that the engine allows people or developers to get rid of the idea of levels of detail that kind of pop in and out based on how close you are to things, because apparently all these billions of triangles will just sort themselves out. So it reminded me of, there was that demo that David Milner did a big piece on for GI Australia. I can't remember what the engine was called, but they made a big deal about how it was kind of like voxel particle based, and that you could just have like unlimited levels of detail in a scene or whatever, and that it sounded like it was doing a lot of the same things, but it was kind of, that also seemed very revolutionary at the time. But then people started poking holes in it and saying, well, it's actually completely static, and you can't have characters running around, or you can't change the geometry or anything like this. So it's actually kind of worthless. And they kind of made a point in this Unreal Engine demo to say that that's not the case. That like all these environments are changing all the time, and that you have real-time lighting that is, the lighting was the other half of all of the kind of technical advancements that they're making and stuff, that these are real video game environments and have physics simulations and all those kind of things, and it's going to give a lot more detail into games than what any hardware can seem to do now at this point.
Yeah, it's weird hearing Tim Sweeney, which the world became obsessed for a while about Tim Sweeney's background, because the head of Epic, he's giving his presentation. He has one of those glowing electric orbs in the background with people who are like, I have that in my Animal Crossing house. This guy's a billionaire. Why does he have that? But he's a genius.
Doesn't he take a big old swig from like a Popeyes cup too? Like,
yeah, he does. I recommend going back and watching the making of Gears of War 1, where Tim Sweeney gives a tour of his house and he's like climbing in the tree out back like Michael Jackson. He's an interesting character. I feel too bad. Like, I don't want to make fun of the guy. There's a little bit of that on the internet. Like, he's a very unique flavor and clearly a genius. But he kept talking about how the PlayStation 5 was better than any high-end PC, which was interesting framing. We'll see how true it is, but clearly they're, in bed to some extent, not in a negative way, with Sony. They have some sort of deal lined up, so they were acknowledging, like, yeah, of course Unreal will run on Xbox, but, if you take Tim Sweeney at his word, he kept saying that the PlayStation 5 is a much more impressive piece of hardware overall. He also said, quote, "The world of loading screens are over." Which, you hear that it's minimized and stuff with the SSD, but hearing him say that, it's like, is there something to this? I cannot believe that will be true.
Yeah, and in the demo, there's a whole sequence of her shimmying her way through a cave, which is like classic loading screen hiding.
Kyle. Oh, contraire. Somebody was complaining about that on Twitter. I believe it was Jeff Grubb, who you had on your podcast recently, right, Kyle?
Yeah, we're best friends now, me and Jeff. Talk all the time.
He's the one who was talking about the Mass Effect remaster. What'd you learn, by the way, from him on that?
Basically that it's coming. Like,
okay.
he has a lot of confidence. It's not coming to Switch, but it is coming to modern consoles, and it'll be the trilogy.
Cool.
I talked to him today. Quick aside, Pikmin 3 remastered. He also says it's like launched for Switch, and we should see that pretty soon too.
Oh, okay. It's a weird thing where, like, now that the directs seem to be thrown out the window because of COVID, the releases are just popping up here and there. But again, one more time for people interested, what is the name of your podcast where you talked about that? Gaming Ride Home. There we go. Fantastic. Anyways,
thank you for letting me plug it, Hanson.
Anytime, man. Matthias Warch, who I met during the cover story trip for Mafia 3. He's a designer that was at 2K, and now he's a designer at Epic, and seemed like he worked on this demo, but somebody was complaining about the shimmying loading screen thing. And Matthias says, that is not a streaming corridor. It's just there to show close-up detail. That they had no other way to conveniently show the detail. But
he would say that, though.
He would. I mean, the entire demo, we should probably acknowledge this, it looks like next-gen Tomb Raider. Like, it is insane how it just looks like a Tomb Raider game.
I mean, I instantly took, I guess, with the last 30 seconds and, like, made, like, a short video to tweet it out. It's incredible. Like, just jumping off of that cliff and flying and, like, running along the walls, like... Awesome. Like, it's funny because those past Unreal demos looked great.
Yeah.
But it was never a game I really wanted to play. I was like, oh, it's impressive visuals. But this one, I'm like, I want to play that. Like, that running, flying sequence looks amazing.
But they did emphasize this is not a real game. This is just
not a real game. No.
Please calm down. We're very busy with Fortnite, which they mentioned that in 2021 they're going to transition over to Unreal Engine 5 because 2021 is when the engine will actually be released. But
and also confirmed for PS5 and Xbox Series X, which is like
Fortnite.
Assumed, but at least they had a blog post that was like, yes, it is coming. Everything you've bought will transfer over. Don't worry about it. That kind of thing. So.
Right. Remember, I feel like it wasn't that long ago where people were like, I don't know if people really need Unreal anymore. I mean, Unity is really stepping up in a big way. And now it's just on every front, Epic is killing it. Like, I even had this weird realization this week of, seeing what's in the Epic Game Store and having this weird feeling of, oh, well, I assume this game's good because it's in the Epic Game Store, so I'll just play it. It was, what was it called? Oh, Before We Leave, which is like a city building game that it turns out it was surprisingly solid, but just they've curated such a good experience there. I understand people are still bitter about it lacking some features compared to Steam, but Epic is just
and also
killing
at
it.
the time of this recording, I mean, we're live. I believe it's still down because everyone was trying to get a free copy of GTA 5.
Oh, but yeah, but they're still giving away a free copy of GTA 5. I mean, it is just unbelievable. And so I saw a developer that's working on Skatebird. You following Skatebird, Blake?
I am. Megan Fox. I know exactly who you're talking about.
There we go. She tweeted out and says, why is my entire game dev feed not screaming about how Unreal Engine 4 is now free to use until your revenue passes $1 million? That is holy geez good terms. Like, holy geez. And then Dana Cowley from Epic says, we want to make it even easier for independent game developers to succeed with Unreal. So now, instead of a 5% royalty after your game earns $3,000 per quarter, you owe Epic nothing until your game earns $1 million, which is, again, just another good person Epic. And they have those amazing publishing deals lined up with, the developers talked about before, including Remedy and your beloved developer, Kyle. What was their name again?
Playdead.
Thank you. But yeah, just the idea that, just go ahead and download and make a game with Unreal Engine 4. If you cross $1 million in revenue, then we'll start talking. But up until that point, game on. Like, I love seeing developers getting excited about that. And even, like, during this demo, there were so many developers jumping on Twitter just being like, holy mother of God, you don't understand how huge this is. I I mean, are you guys excited about next gen after seeing those graphics?
I am. I think it was a cool demo. I have no clue what they were talking about at any point in that demo.
Okay, so the triangles, they're everywhere. They're just literally just all triangles.
They put pretty stuff on screen, and I was happy, but I have no clue what they were saying. But like, I think they like none of this, like the business deals are going to affect me in any way. But I also think it's cool to see like Epic invest in small developers in that way and like distribute this certain amount of goodwill and good faith and, you know, putting money in their hands that they might not get through other platforms, but also just getting out there on Jeff Keighley's stage, which is by and large usually like one of the biggest, most visible stages in the game industry, and putting out something that was developer focused and being like, look at this. This is what you are going to have. And the Unreal Engine is like, it powers everything from, it powers like Persona 5, and I don't think it's the sole engine of Persona 5, but it's behind a lot of interesting, weird games you might not
Final Fantasy
expect.
VII Remake, the sequel might be Unreal Engine 5.
It's behind a bunch of interesting games and like a whole big swath of different genres. So I thought it was cool that they got out there and put all these tech specs out there that dumbasses like me don't understand, but like plenty of developers were probably like super excited for, and it's cool that they put it on like Jeff Keighley's stage, getting it in front of way more people than, I don't know, maybe even Epic live streaming it themselves would see.
Well, yeah, and it's crazy to think about. I mean, I was visiting Epic for like the reveal of Unreal Engine 4, where they had that Elemental demo, and Matt Burtz was there and wrote a big feature in Game Informer magazine about it. But just thinking about even that era and how they unveiled Unreal Engine 4, which was like, all right, let's get Mark Rain in here. And you know, he's a hoot, but having him talk on camera about the power of Unreal Engine 4, and then developers, like, this is why I'm skeptical about some of those, like the Nanite and Lumen. Like, I know Lumen is another term for, you know, lighting overall, but just like their words for these situations, why I'm skeptical that that'll really carry on is like, you know, with Unreal Engine 4, their big talking point was Kismet, the Kismet tools for Unreal Engine 4, which was going to let small developers create creative games faster than you could possibly imagine. Basically, they were pitching Unreal Engine 4 in the early days as dreams of just like, oh, plug and play. You can create a game, get it out the door. And I feel like, you know, I'm sure there were great tools that developers took advantage of, but that wording never really caught on. And then, like you mentioned now with Unreal Engine 5, just get out there and Jeff Keighley front and center, and developers are getting rallied. So it seems like a very smart reveal overall. If you enjoyed this clip from the MinnMax Show podcast, we think you'll like the full show too. You can find it by subscribing to MinnMax's YouTube channel or on your favorite podcast app. Any help spreading the word to keep our whole indie operation here running is appreciated. We're here for and because of the wonderful MinnMax community, so you're welcome to join.